Cináed MacAlpin, commonly anglicised as Kenneth MacAlpin and known in most modern regnal lists as Kenneth I, was a king of the Picts who, according to national myth, was the first king of Scots. He was thus later known by the posthumous nickname of An Ferbasach, the Conqueror. The dynasty that ruled Scotland for much of the medieval period claimed descent from him. Disputed kingship. The Kenneth of myth, conqueror of the Picts and founder of the Kingdom of Alba, was born in the centuries after the real Kenneth died, in the reign of Kenneth II. When the Chronicle of the Kings of Alba was compiled, the annalist wrote, Cináed, son of Ailpín, first of the Scots, ruled this Pictland prosperously for 16 years. Pictland was named after the Picts, whom, as we have said, Cináed destroyed. 2 years before he came to Pictland, he had received the kingdom of Dalriata. In the 15th century, Andrew of Wintoun's original Chronicle of Scotland, a history in verse, added little to the account in the Chronicle. When Ailpín this king was dead, he left a son was called kind Scots.He man he was and out all the papers he put out, Gret bat less than dyd he to pwt in freedom his country. When humanist scholar George Buchanan wrote his History Rerum Scoticum Historia in the 1570s, a great deal of lurid detail had been added to the story. Buchanan included an account of how Kenneth's father had been murdered by the Picts and a detailed, and entirely unsupported, account of how Kenneth avenged him and conquered the Picts. Buchanan was not as credulous as many, and he did not include the tale of MacAlpin's treason, a story from Giraldus Cambrensis, who reused a tale of Saxon treachery at a feast in Geoffrey of Monmouth's inventive Historia Regum Britanniae. Later 19th-century historians, such as William Forbes Skene, brought new standards of accuracy to early Scottish history, while Celticists, such as Whitley Stokes and Kuno Meyer, cast a critical eye over Welsh and Irish sources. As a result, much of the misleading and vivid detail was removed from the scholarly series of events, even if it remained in the popular accounts. Rather than the conquest of the Picts, instead, the idea of Pictish matrilineal succession, mentioned by Bede and apparently the only way to make sense of the list of kings of the Picts found in the Pictish Chronicle, advanced the idea that Kenneth was a Gael, and a king of Dalriata, who had inherited the throne of Pictland through Pictish mother. Other Gaels, such as Constantine and Oengus, the sons of Fergus, were identified among the Pictish king lists, as were Angles such as Lawson son of Eanfrith, and Britons such as Bride son of Beli. Later historians would reject parts of the Kenneth produced by Skene and subsequent historians, while accepting others. Medievalist Alex Wolff, interviewed by The Scotsman in 2004, is quoted as saying, "The myth of Kenneth conquering the Picts, it's about 1210, 1220 that's first talked about. There's actually no hint at all that he was a Scot. If you look at contemporary sources, there are 4 other Pictish kings after him, so he's the 5th last of the Pictish kings rather than the first Scottish king." Many other historians could be quoted in terms similar to Wolff. A feasible synopsis of the emerging consensus may be put forward, namely, that the kingships of Gaels and Picts underwent a process of gradual fusion, starting with Kenneth, and rounded off in the reign of Constantine II. The Pictish institution of kingship provided the basis for merger with the Gaelic Ailpín dynasty. The meeting of King Constantine and Bishop Selic at the Hill of Belief near the royal city of Scone in 906 cemented the rights and duties of Picts on an equal basis with those of Gaels. Hence the change in styling from King of the Picts to King of Alba. The legacy of Gaelic as the first national language of Scotland does not obscure the foundational process in the establishment of the Scottish Kingdom of Alba. Background. Kenneth's origins are uncertain, as are his ties, if any, to previous kings of the Picts at Dalriata. Among the genealogies contained in the Rawlinson B. 502 manuscript, dating from around 1130, is the supposed descent of Malcolm II of Scotland. Medieval genealogies are unreliable sources, but many historians still accept Kenneth's descent from the established Cene acute Elnabrain, or at the very least from some unknown minor sept of the Dalriata. The manuscript provides the following ancestry for Kenneth: Cináed son of Ailpín son of Eochaid son of Ailpín son of Domangad son of Domnall Breck son of Eochaid Buaid son of Eden son of Gabran son of Domangad son of Fergusmore. Leaving aside the shadowy kings before Eden son of Gabran, the genealogy is certainly flawed insofar as Ailpín, who died c. 778, could not reasonably be the son of Domangad, who was killed c. 673. The conventional account would insert 2 generations between Ailpín and Domangad: Eochaid MacAlpin, father of Ailpín, who died c. 733, and his father Eochaid, although later traditions provided details of his reign and death. Kenneth's father Ailpín is not listed as among the kings in the Duan Albanic, which provides the following sequence of kings leading up to Kenneth. It is supposed that these kings are the Constantine son of Fergus and his brother Oengus II, who have already been mentioned, Oengus's son Uen, as well as the obscure Ad Macboanta, but this sequence is considered doubtful if the list is intended to represent kings of Dalriata, as it should if Kenneth were king there. That Kenneth was a Gael is not widely rejected, but modern historiography distinguishes between Kenneth as a Gael by culture and/or in ancestry, and Kenneth as a king of Gaelic Dalriata. Kings of the Picts before him, from Bride son of Darilii, his brother Nectan, as well as Oengus I son of Fergus and his presumed descendants, were all at least partly Gaelicized. The idea that the Gaelic names of Pictish kings in Irish annals represented translations of Pictish ones was challenged by the discovery of the inscription Constantine Filius Fiacus, the Latinized name of the Pictish king Constantin son of Fergus, on the Dublin cross. Other evidence, such as that furnished by place names, suggests the spread of Gaelic culture through western Pictland in the centuries before Kenneth. For example, Athol, a name used in the annals of Ulster for the year 739, has been thought to be New Ireland, and Argyll derives from Oiargadhil, the land of the Eastern Gaels. Reign. Compared with the many questions on his origins, Kenneth's ascent to power and subsequent reign can be dealt with simply. Kenneth's rise can be placed in the context of the recent end of the previous dynasty, which had dominated Fortriu for 2 or 4 generations. This followed the death of King Uen, son of Oengus of Fortriu, his brother Bran, Ad Macboanta, and others almost innumerable, in battle against the Vikings in 839. The resulting succession crisis seems, if the Pictish Chronicle king lists have any validity, to have resulted in at least 4 would-be kings warring for supreme power. Kenneth's reign is dated from 843, but it was probably not until 848 that he defeated the last of his rivals for power. The Pictish Chronicle claims that he was king in Dalriata for 2 years before becoming Pictish king in 843, but this is not generally accepted. In 849, Kenneth had relics of Columba, which may have included the Monymusk reliquary, transferred from Iona to Dunkeld. Other than these bare facts, the Chronicle of the Kings of Alba reports that he invaded Saxonia 6 times, captured Melrose and burnt Dunbar, and also that Vikings laid waste to Pictland, reaching far into the interior. The Annals of the Four Masters, not generally a good source on Scottish matters, do make mention of Kenneth, although what should be made of the report is unclear. Gofraid mac Ferbasach, chief of Ailpín, went to Alba to strengthen the Dalriata at the request of Kenneth MacAlpin. The reign of Kenneth also saw an increased degree of Norse settlement in the outlying areas of modern Scotland, Shetland, Orkney, Caithness, Sutherland, the Western Isles and the Isle of Man, and part of Ross were settled. The links between Kenneth's kingdom and Ireland were weakened, those with southern England and the continent almost broken. In the face of this, Kenneth and his successors were forced to consolidate the position in their kingdom, and the union between the Picts and the Gaels, already progressing for several centuries, began to strengthen. By the time of Donald II, the kings would be called kings neither of the Gaels of the Scots but of Alba. Kenneth died from a tumour on the 13th of February 858 at the Palace of St. Bolocquia, perhaps near Scone. The Annals report the death as that of the King of the Picts, not the King of Alba. The title King of Alba is not used until the time of Kenneth's grandsons, Donald II and Constantine II. The fragmentary Annals of Ireland quote a verse lamenting Kenneth's death, because Cináed with many troops lives no longer. There is weeping in every house, there is no king of his worth under heaven as far as the borders of Rome. Kenneth left at least two sons, Constantine and Ailpín, who were later kings, and at least two daughters. One daughter married Run, king of Strathclyde, Eochaid being the result of this marriage. Kenneth's daughter Maelmure married two important Irish kings of the Uine Acute. Her first husband was A.D. Finlaith of the Cene Acute Neogain. Niall Glundub, ancestor of the O'Neill, was the son of this marriage. Her second husband was Flansinner of Clan Charmain, as the wife and mother of kings. When Maelmure died in 913, her death was reported by the Annals of Ulster, an unusual thing for the male-centered chronicles of the age.